What stage in the military career you decided you want to go to real estate?
When I was 18, so right out of high school. When I graduated, I just literally just looked up ways like how to not pay rent. I ended up coming across short-term rental.
4%, what would you possess right now?
That's one of the markets that right now just caught my eye because of those factors.
Hello everyone, welcome to Paths of Progress. I'm your host Alex Kon, and today I'm excited to have a truly inspiring guest, Aubri Paredes. Aubri is a system engineer and a first lieutenant in the Army National Guard and a rising multifamily real estate investor. First, Aubri, thank you for your service. It's an honor to have you here, and let's start by hearing more about your journey. Can you share a bit about your background and how did you start in real estate?
And thank you so much, Alex, for inviting me to join. Really appreciate the platform. So a little bit about me and my background. I am originally from the Dominican Republic. So I came here when I was 7 years old. First generation Dominican-American. Started from scratch with my family. We ended up moving to Massachusetts. And I kind of grew up like a military brat per se. My dad was in the military and we kind of like lived all over. As we were talking, I lived in like Texas, Alabama, Germany, New York, all over the place. So fast forward, I ended up going to West Virginia University, and I graduated in 2020 with a bachelor's in industrial engineering. While I was in school, I also did Army ROTC. So when I graduated in 2020, I also commissioned as an officer, a logistics officer in the Army National Guard. And so I've been doing that since 2020.
Yeah, tell us more about it, about your transition from military to real estate, and what stage in the military career you decided, hey, I want to go to real estate, I want to pursue it, and why did you feel it this is a good path for you?
All right, perfect. Yes. So when I was graduating college, my parents had decided to settle in New Jersey, right? So I'm very family oriented and I wanted to be with my family. So I was looking at rents in the area because I landed a job. So I was like, okay. And I started looking at rents and
Sure.
it's just like rents were ridiculous. And I was like, there's no way, like I struggled 4 years in college for what? Like I didn't want to continue just to live paycheck to paycheck, after graduation or struggle after graduation. So when I graduated, I just literally just looked up ways like how to not pay rent, like on Google. I'm like, okay, how can I mitigate this? So I ended up coming across like house hack. And once I came across house hacking, I came across bigger pockets. And once I came across bigger pockets, like the rest was history.
You just came into a rabbit hole and he just sucked you in, and now you were
Yeah.
real estate back and you were excited about it. So let's rewind a little bit. So this was after the college. After college, you decided, hey, you want to see what rents out there, and you understand that it should be a better way to rent and to live in US. And was it before you go in military, or during that time you went to military, you already was thinking about real estate?
Yeah, I was already in the military. So a little rewind. So I enlisted when I was 18, so right out of high school. But I took some time off because I had to go to military training. And then when I went to college, I did ROTC programs so I can transition into an officer. So during this time, I'm still in the Army National Guard, but as some of you may know, the Army National Guard is part-time, so it's not full-time. So that helps a lot in mitigating everything. So, but yes, great question. I was still in the Army National Guard. I was still serving, and this is 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. So I graduated in May, got my job as an engineer, and then Army National Guard as well, just part-time.
Love it. So what was your first property and where did you buy it?
Yeah, so my first property, after the whole bigger pockets debacle, just learning everything on there, I ended up getting my first property in North New Jersey. So the interesting part about Irvington, for those who may not be familiar with the area or who are, there's little sweet spots in areas like Irvington and Newark. Irvington borders Maplewood, New Jersey. So if you're able to find a house in those little sweet spots or property in those sweet spots, they could be just complete like deal changer, right? Like game changer. So I did that. I got my property there, 4 doors. I used a VA renovation loan, or sorry, VA loan, regular VA loan. I lived in one unit for a year. Then I ended up moving out.
Okay, and before we go there, so how long did it take you from your, starting looking into education, bigger pockets, until the process actually you close on first property? How much time passed?
So I started heavily going into bigger pockets in November of 2021, and I
Okay,
closed on my first property in May of 2022. So it took those months. How many months?
6 months, 7 months. So you went from the late 2021 to spring 2022. You already closed on your first property. You got a VA loan. And for our listeners who don't know, VA loan, you can secure 0% down on those loans, and you can get this property. You just get as a closing cost, right? If I'm correct, and you can get your first property. And in your case, it was not only single family; it was a 4 doors you mentioned. So it means 4 unit multifamily property. So can you speak numbers, like how much rental did it bring at that time? What was that? Did it cover your principal, insurance, taxes, all those your payments, monthly payments?
Yes. When I closed on my property, it covered all my PITIA, as they like to refer to it. It covered all of that. But when I bought the property, I inherited a tenant whose rents were very under market, right? So they had been there for some time, but they had already expressed that they were leaving. So the other 3 units, one of the other units, or two of the other units, sorry, I ended up doing short-term rentals, right? I didn't go in doing short-term rentals at all. But when I ran the numbers and saw that short-term rentals, you can get like 50% more, 60% more than what you were getting with long-term tenants, I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. So I only did 2 units short-term rentals, and the other two I left as long-term rentals. So I did a commingle, which in a little bit I can tell you a little bit more about my experience with that. Sometimes it really doesn't work well, but um, I just did the 2 units. Once I went live in my short-term rental business, 3 months after that, I made Airbnb Superhost. So I
Wow.
had once I had proof of concept, I was like, okay, I'm going all in on the short term rentals. So now it's just a matter of waiting for the long term tenants' leases to kind of be up, and then converting all of them to short term rentals.
And in returns, it's like this is a tenant-friendly state, right? It's notorious for tenant-friendly state, New Jersey, and you got lucky that one of the tenants with low rents, he decided to move out, right?
Yes, it is.
So, what are the rules and regulations in your city if their lease is going till the end? Can you ask them to leave? Like, what is the process there?
Yeah, so you can ask them to leave. You just have to give them a certain time notice. I gave them 60 day notice of increase of rent, um, just because it was, very low market, and I wanted to go in and kind of renovate a little things. But it ended up working out because they wanted to leave anyway. So
Very good.
yeah.
So those 2 units that you went right away Airbnb, did you renovate those units or they were ready to go?
One of them I renovated. The other one was it was like cosmetics things. Just needed like updating. But one of them I did do like a complete renovation. And then once that tenant moved out, I completely renovated that unit too because they had been there for 10 years. So
Love it. And how did you do it? Did you hire contractors or did you do it yourself?
no, I hired contractors. It helps. So I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish, and in this area of Jersey, there's a lot of contractors that speak Spanish as well. So that helps a lot.
You got the contract, you renovated the units. What was the rent before they moved out in those units?
They were paying at that time like 1,200 for.
1200. And what kind of unit was that?
It was a 2 bedroom. They were
Two
paying.
bedroom, one bathroom.
Two
Okay.
bedroom, one bath, and then it had like a bonus room that they used as another bedroom. But
Like
it
a
was
den.
you
Got
right.
it. So So it didn't have a closet, so it was a den. So usually, rule of thumb, if a room doesn't have a closet in it but has a window, it's considered a den, or some other office space, right?
Right.
Office space, den, relax area. But if you can add a closet there, it will be considered actually a bedroom. And this is trick that we learn when we do value add units. You can actually physically go pay a contractor to add a little closet there, and when you have next evaluation, next appraisal on the property, now they will calculate this unit as a bedroom, and the price difference is drastic. This closet can cost you like, I don't know, 500, $1,000 to
It
build.
needs to meet the size requirements as well, right? Because like in the state of New
Correct.
Jersey, for it to
Correct.
legally be a bedroom, it has to be 7 by 10 at least, right?
Correct, correct. But you can be
Right.
creative.
So
You can cut a little piece from other side, and you can figure out how to
right.
do it. But it can go like 50,000 difference on your appraisal value easily if you add another bedroom. It depends on
Right.
the area, depends on the neighborhood, but it can be much, much more than that. Okay, so perfect. So after you renovated, what was your R&B price, per night? How much did you charge?
So in the two bedroom,
Yes,
so it obviously fluctuates by season, but the average base charge was probably around 160, 170 for that two bedroom.
160. And do you count all the occupancy? So is this occupancy adjusted number?
So the average occupancy, so over a 12-month period, or yeah, so the average occupancy over a 12-month period on my two bedroom, the one that they moved out in, that was probably around 70%.
70%.
Um,
So
yes.
you get $160 per night, and you get 70% occupancy on 30 days. It's $3,300 per month.
Right. And well, that was the base rent. So I used Price Labs, which is dynamic pricing software.
Mhm.
So for example, I'm very close to like the production center. So when Taylor Swift came into town or there's a Beyonce concert, the price fluctuates. But base rent,
Wow.
yes, that would be.
So what was your biggest rent per day, per night on those rentals? When do you have this concert, special events?
It would soar. Especially if, like for example, the concert nobody had booked yet and it was like 2 weeks out, it would go up to like 220, 230.
So I want everyone to understand the mathematics here, right? You had your first rental when you bought the building. It was renting long term at $1,200 per night per month, right? And now she came in, she did a little renovation, she made it furnished, she made it nice and cozy, and now she, with a base rent nightly, right? She gets $3,300 per month, and this is base. So when we have special events, you get more, and especially when she improves her reputation on this website, Airbnb and other hosting website, she can get even more occupancy on those days. And if area improves and develops further, that will be better, right?
Yes.
Wow, incredible. So and you have 4 units of those. So you did it with one, you got your proof of concept. You actually did it with two at the same time, and you got your proof of concept, and then you transition your other long-term tenants into Airbnb, correct?
Yes, correct. But I didn't have, not all of them were two bedrooms. So I had one was a one bed, two were two beds, and then I had one three bed. But
Wow.
also in the two bed, another great way to increase your ADR, average daily rent, is just to, like, I had a sofa bed in there, right? So I didn't have that third bedroom, but if you I had a sofa bed, so you increase the number of people that can stay there. So that also helps in being able to charge the numbers that I was charging.
Because you can accommodate
And
now more people in the same kind of apartment. Now it's two bedroom, but you
yes,
also have a living room there. It's not a split; it's a living room kind of situation. And now more people can stay, an extra two people can stay in this apartment, and you just can get more people, right? Desired to get this unit from you. Love it, love it.
right, right.
So how long did it take you to turn all the units overall from start to finish? So you bought this property in May 2022. So when were you
Mhm.
fully occupied with Airbnb? When were you done with this process?
So it actually took a minute because I had to wait for my tenants to move out, and then I had to fix it up a little bit. So May of 2022, I closed. Three of the units were vacant, but some needed work, and the one was occupied by that 10 year tenant that was in there. So I did my 2 units. Two of them I went live in October of 2022. That was with my 1 bedroom and my other 2 bedroom that were vacant. So went live in October of 2022. I put in another tenant in that 2 bedroom once they had moved in. I didn't fully do the short-term rental at that time, if that makes sense. So my tenant moved out in September of when I bought, September 2022. I hadn't gone live on Airbnb yet, so I didn't have that proof of concept. So I put in another tenant in that 2 bedroom.
You went a safe route, so you still have a long-term income, but while you're playing with short-term rentals and you get in your proof of concept, you still have some steady money flow.
Yes, exactly. So that the one tenant that took over the previous tenant one, they ended up moving in December of 2022. And then so that apartment became empty in December of 2023. So that's when I did that apartment for my short-term rental.
And that was the last unit,
And
right?
that was the one where I had the tenants in there that had been for 10 years. Yes.
Wow. So let's talk about the numbers, right? So you bought this building. How much? What is the interest rate that you got on your loan?
Yeah, so I was one of the unlucky ones. When I started searching, my pre-approval interest rate was like a 2.8%. But as we all know, in March of 2022 or April of 2022, when the Feds increased interest rates, they went up to like 4%. So mine was a 4.3% at that point.
You can say you're unlucky, okay? Is it because you know how much rates are right now? You're still very much
But
lucky
when
at
you,
this 4.3%. You know, we're gonna have listeners who listen to this. Oh my God, 4%, we would kill for that rate nowadays.
but it's all relative, right? When your
Yep.
pre-approval says 2.8 and then you're getting at a 4.3, I almost wanted to cry at that point. It was almost double, so.
So how much was your PD for that time when you got the building? How much is your PD right now?
So my mortgage payment at this time was like 3,100.
3,100. And even with
Yes.
low rents that you had like 1,200 per unit, you had 4 units, 1,000, 1,200, 900. You still was making enough money, and you were making still $1,000 extra probably in the end of the day. But after you turn those units into Airbnb, your income tripled
And
on those units. So wow.
right. And property taxes in New Jersey are very high. And also it was an older home. So it wasn't all like rainbows and unicorns, right? It's an older home. It had cast iron steam radiators. There was a lot of maintenance. There was a lot of capex that I had to dig into my income. So when you really do all the numbers, it wasn't all that like as we're making it sound, just to be realistic. But it
Yeah.
was still good cash flow, but not like,
Yeah, people
out
need
of
to
this world.
understand it's not only mortgage insurance and interest taxes, right? It's also the maintenance and capital expenditures. And when we talk capital expenditures, we're talking about roof, we're talking about plumbing. We mentioned cast iron. People don't know sometimes in the newer houses what is cast iron because most of them has plastic PVC tubes, right? And cast iron, it's a 100-year-old pipes, right? It's what it sounds. It's
Yeah.
cast iron, and sometimes they collapse. So when collapse, I just replaced on one of my properties. It was a 7,000 bill, and it went from my basement to the street, and that part is not covered by the city. It's basically still your property to the city, and from the city, it's already owned by city, so they can fix after the city. But to connect it to city sewer, you have to fix that part. So you have to dig all bunch of land outside, and you have to fix your pipe, get the permits, you're gonna put it back, and
What city is that, by the way?
I was doing it in Trenton, so we have a portfolio in
Okay.
Trenton, and yeah, it was a fun process. It's not that expensive, but when you don't expect it happens, and when we have a basement and all the smells and everything that accumulated in the basement from the from sewage. It's a very
Yeah.
bright picture. Yep, it happened, and we actually hired a couple times service to suck all this contamination from the basement. So it wasn't pretty, but that's what's cast iron for you. You always have to factor that it can collapse one day or another, and if it happens, you have to have like 10,000 saved for that just in case. And when this cast iron stopped leaking inside the house,
They will leak every year. Somehow it happened.
I had one house, different house, and the cast iron. It was from first. It's a two-family house, and it was from the basement. We have a main pipe, main sewer pipe, cast iron went all the way to the second floor, where we had another toilet, right, restroom, and the whole pipe it had a crack, like inch crack. So the whole thing it was leaking. I don't know how it cracked, but it had a like 1 inch crack for like I don't know
Wow.
for like 6 feet in the wall. So we had to break apart like so many walls to replace it, and it was a
God.
heavy bill. It was a heavy bill. It wasn't pretty. It was smelly, and I had to help at the moment because I wasn't in the area. And but that's what happens. People when people buy those buildings and they think, "Hey, I'm just gonna collect the rent." It's not the case, unfortunately, guys. Telling you right away, you have to look at your all the old stuff that's in the house and factory replacement, right? And it's not only right sewer and plumbing. We're talking also about roof, and sometimes it's fine until it's not, right? The roof has a life cycle of 20, 30 years. Regular shingle roof, sometimes when you replace that roof you also have to replace plywood right under it because it's been 30 or 40 years before it replaced before you. So all small things like this that need to be factored and looked. That's why you get your inspector on board to review, to make a proper inspection report, and then you can get your educated guess on how much money you need to save for future or negotiate with the seller, right? So in your case, did you have inspection on your property?
Yes, yes, and I can talk a little bit about that. So I did do the inspection. Of course, I had the VA loan, so I had to do an inspection, appraisal, all that. But I was able to negotiate a $7,000 seller's concession, $7,500 seller's concession. Um, just due to there was like mold in the basement and then like asbestos sort of stuff. Obviously, we asked for more, but we settled on 7,500. And what's neat is when I bought this property, although there was a lot of out of pocket costs after buying it, however, I when I was doing my numbers, they weren't a lot of times they weren't 100% accurate because I literally went in like $0 out of pocket, so it's showing like an infinite return, you know, but it doesn't account for the stuff that you put in out of pocket after the fact. So um, what I mean by this is VA renovation loan, as we mentioned before, it's 0% down. And for the closing costs, I received the 7,500 seller's concession. And I also received a $10,000 first time home buyer grant. So
Wow.
that kind of covered, yeah, so that covered all my closing costs. So when I bought my first property, like my attorney was like, this is the first time I've ever at the closing table, like that you're getting money back. Like I had a net profit at the closing table at that point. Um, but so a lot of times I tell new people, house hacking is not only a great way to go because you're living in there and you're like immersing yourself, but you can take advantage, you can leverage a lot of the resources that our states, specifically like states like ours, has for first time home buyers. That you can't do that if you're buying a rental property, a strictly rental property.
So did you live in that property? So you mentioned house hacking. So you had 4 units. So you occupied one unit, and you had one long-term tenant, and you have two Airbnb units.
Yes, I lived there for some time. Yes, and then I did my rental units.
Perfect. So you get the best of the world, right? You get the best lending options because it was owner occupied property. You lived there, you renovated a unit, you work hard to make it nice and livable. And now by living on the property, you had extra way of level, extra level of security and understanding what's going on in your Airbnb unit next door. Love your story in Airbnb. I think it was a great success. Now you turn all 4 units, all Airbnb. And do you still manage that Airbnb or you have a property manager for that?
No, I always managed those 4 units myself just because there were a lot of software out there that you can use. Like, for example, I had a channel manager, Hospitable, which was great. You automate a lot of your systems on there. They automatically send a message to the cleaners whenever you have a new booking. Whenever there's a change, they send that to the cleaners as well. So I didn't feel the need to to get a property manager just because there's so many great technology out there to manage short-term rentals and my proximity to the short-term rentals.
So you created systems that help you to be, as much as off-key remote manager as possible, and at the same time, you had a systems that all automated the whole process for you, right?
Yes.
Wow.
I had my channel manager Hospitable, and then I had my dynamic pricing software, Price Labs, that I use.
So for application for managed Airbnb, it's hospitable. You mentioned, right?
Yes.
So if you have some referral link, you can drop it. We'll drop it in the description of the video. And another one is, which one did you mention?
Price Labs
Price
for
Labs
dynamic pricing.
for dynamic pricing. So that's how you manage Airbnb. You automate your system. So now in one system you can put together and it communicates with your service for the property, and another system that helps you to fluctuate your price if there's any big events, if there's anything going on in the cities that helps you to increase price or drop it if you have not enough demand. Right, so you'll have more occupancy. It helps you with the occupancy. It helps you to keep the price steady. Very nice. So, what is your next step of your career? Are you planning to buy more Airbnbs, or are you looking into multifamily? I heard you trying syndications. So, tell us what's in the future for your development in real estate.
Yeah. So next steps is I'm definitely trying to scale and get into bigger deals. But also I want to buy another small multifamily just because with the VA loan, you have some entitlement left. So I'm still able to purchase another property with that VA loan. And I do want to point that you don't have to be a veteran to take advantage of 0% down loans. There are other programs for non-veterans, like the NACA program, that's also 0% down, and you don't have to be a veteran. And there's obviously USDA loans, but with the USDA loans, there are some restrictions of where the house is located. But again, you can take advantage of NACA and those other programs like that. Back to what I was saying. Yeah, so a small residential multifamily I'm looking for next. And then also I got introduced to multifamily syndication over the summer after I had read a book, Joe Fairless's Best Ever Apartment Syndication book. I got a referral on Bigger Pockets. I read it over the summer. I connected with a couple of people on LinkedIn. I attended a syndication conference in September, Brad Sumrocks. I'm sure you've heard of him. So I attended that conference by a connection that I made on LinkedIn. And then after that, I was kind of sold a little bit. I had like another aha moment after, my previous one. I was like, okay, wow, this is definitely a great way to scale. But since I'm already in the short-term space, I'm thinking of going into the syndication space, but also staying in the short-term space. If that makes sense. So instead of doing the traditional long-term rentals, kind of doing like boutique hotels, things sort of that nature that pertains more to short-term and midterm stays.
Love it. And what area are you focused on? Where you're looking for those properties, and what is your buy box?
Right. So the area that I'm focused on predominantly right now is Midwest. So Ohio, like Columbus, Cincinnati. One of the reasons why I like those areas is because not only are their tourism numbers very good, but you also have fallback numbers, if that makes sense. Like you're near big universities, you're near hospitals. Because something that I noticed when I had my short-term rentals, so yes, the proximity to New York City was there, but a lot of the people that stayed with me, I had a lot of people stay for like they were doing residencies, traveling nurses, and stuff like that. So having a multitude of reasons why people stay in that Airbnb or short-term rental helps a lot. So I like that those areas that I'm looking to now, but it's not fully refined. That attracted me the most, the Midwest, because of the very low barrier of entry. But I'm still, again, it's not like 100% that area. I'm still in the growth and development stage. That's one of the markets that right now just caught my eye the most because of those
So
factors.
you're still learning about this, right? So that's the same process as you went through in Airbnb cycle. You went through education, bigger pockets, and you learn how to do it. And you look for your first property, then you look for loans, and you acquired your first properties, and you went through stabilization. The same way you're going now onto syndication route, and where you get a ton of education. You join in networking masterminds, events, and you get in your education through other people and other people's experience, and you're planning to buy bigger units while still scaling your Airbnb portfolio in your New Jersey area, correct?
Yes, well, I can still use that VA, take advantage of that VA
I
loan.
love it.
Yes.
I think it's great, in a great path. What advice would you give to others who just want to start in real estate? Would you suggest go Airbnb route, multifamily, or large multifamily right away?
Um, it depends on their. It depends on their goals. It depends on what they want to do. It depends on their goals, and it depends what they're comfortable with too, as well. A lot of people start off new and they go straight out of state, and that works for them, and that's great. However, a lot of the things that we do as real estate investors, it really is mindset, right? So if you are in a market where you can do short-term rental, can do a multifamily, I would say explore all those different options that are available to you, run the numbers, and see what makes the most optimal sense to you, to what you're looking for and what you're comfortable with. Um, yeah, and just always and keep an open mind. I think that helps a lot. Keep your head on a swivel. Be open to change. Be open to uh, adapt to different things. I think that definitely helps.
Aubrey, we will share some social links how people can connect with you in the future, but I think we had a great session. Again, thank you so much for sharing your story and insights. It's been a pleasure having you on Path of Progress, and your journey is truly inspiring. I do believe that you have a great future in real estate, and your Airbnb is a great success. And I will definitely reach out to you to ask more questions about that, because I do want to start doing Airbnb as well in some of my units, and I do need some education on that part. I think you did great so far. Um, well, I think that's a wrap. Aubrey, again, thank you. To all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with anyone who's on the path of progress. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversation, and as always, keep moving forward. See you next time. Thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you.